And we are back. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Av Files. I'm your host, Av, and I'm joined once again by none other than Daniel Arias of
Exactly. Of the internet. Of the internet.
Of the internet, because I think are you like gone after YouTube?
It's funny. I feel like that's another episode of a podcast that we need to record, is the mysterious disappearance of Arias in the nation.
Right.
I don't know. Is it because of this? Who knows? All I know is that I woke up and it was gone. It was gone. Did it ever exist? Do we even exist? I don't even know. Maybe that whole 2 years was a blur, and I was just talking to the
What
back of
2
my
years?
wall.
You've just been doing this for the last
Yeah.
year. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I have no idea, man. So yeah,
It's a case of the Mandela effect.
yeah, exactly. I guess that was a different me in a different timeline.
Yeah.
So I woke up and I'm like, oh damn, wrong timeline. So I can't fix that. So
Like, shit.
yeah. So anyway, no, I'm here, man. It's always good to be here.
Yeah.
It's good. My wife and I painted our kitchen. So that's what we've been doing this weekend. Being crazy.
Dude, that sounds like so much fun.
It was glorious. I would recommend it to no one, unless you really want to have a team building exercise with your significant other.
To see if you guys really get along.
Yeah.
Are you compatible?
Because I try to do it the lazy way. It's like, oh, you have to take the cabinet doors off the cabinets to paint, because our cabinets are mounted underneath a bulkhead, right? And so like the doors, there's not enough clearance. I was like, could I just paint like around it? And I'm like, I can't half-ass it. So I took the doors off, and today when I put the doors on, I'm like, where are the screws? And so one of those things. It's just one of those things where I'm like, stupid brain.
When you're doing it, is she like standing there like, here, let me help you? And you're like, I got it. And she's like, let me help you. You're like, go and sweep the floor or something, or
yeah, just like no, because
get away.
It's crazy because my eyes are different than her eyes. Her eyes are perfectionist eyes, which is how you were supposed to do it. But when you're doing it, you're like, oh, just get it done. We're painting the walls from like a robin egg blue in the kitchen to a white, so it was multiple coats to get rid of the blue, and the bulkhead is like dark gray. So it's like,
I'll tell you what though, the cabinets, oh man, that always reminds me of what was it, like that summer that I helped your dad put cabinets in, which after the first hour, I think I wanted to shoot myself.
Yeah, that was that. I just, everything about cabinetry, I'm just like, oh my god, what a trade. Just brings back memories. Maybe memories or PTSD. Wow, whatever they call it.
I think it's PTSD. It's not memories.
It's like, are you supposed to cry when you look at cabinets? I'm not sure.
Like, dang, are you okay?
I gotta get out of the section of Home Depot. Like, it's bringing back too many memories.
Yeah, you skip that aisle at Home Depot all the time.
And I'm just like, no, that's a silly place down that way. But yeah, man, no, it's good to be here. Yeah, what are we talking about today, man?
All right, so everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving into one of the most infamous crimes in U.S. history. We are talking about the Lufthansa Heist. This is a story of greed, betrayal, and cold hard cash and murder. Obviously.
Obviously.
Well, what? You can't come on here and talk about happy endings.
Hell no. No, that's a different type of podcast.
Yeah, but, that doesn't exist on this podcast.
No, we're enigmatic.
Happy endings are for those other
places.
Yeah, and not
but okay, so Lufthansa.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's a staggering $5 million in untraceable cash, and almost $900,000 in jewelry stolen, and what was at the time the largest cash robbery in American history. And the best part, it's like a tale straight out of the movies.
I'm here for it. I love heists. something about heists. I don't know why. I'm always on like when it comes to like a bank heist and like I don't know why the movies always make me like root for the heist the robbers. Like I don't
The
know
bad
why.
guy. You always root for the bad guy.
It's like get away with it. I don't know why. That's just part of the appeal of those movies to me. But
Mhm.
5 million, that's not
But I think
that's
that's everybody's really. The appeal is, they, like I said, they kind of root for the bad guy in the movies.
well, because if you think about it, like the bad guys in those films, right? They're not really like evil. They're there for a specific goal is to get money, right? I mean, I guess you could say evil, but whatever. What I'm saying, it's like it's not robbing their grandmothers. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
robbing an establishment, and I'm more like, yeah, down with it. I don't know. That's just me. I just always find myself rooting for the dudes to get away. At whatever. Maybe that's just my mental being broken.
No, no, no. I mean, I think a lot of people are like that because I mean, when I see him, I'm like, hell yeah, like get that money.
So, man, but $5 million, that's no small feat.
No,
That's no small
no. I
feat.
mean, what is it now? It's like,
It's
what
like,
did you say? Like 20? Was it? Did we say that?
well, when was the it was like when was the
It was
crime?
it was in 78, and I think it was now it'd be like
Like
20
20,
something.
21. I think it's like 21 million.
Yeah, and it was like 3 million in jewelry,
3 million. 3 million.
something around there.
I
So it
feel
all
like
added up to about 25 million or something like that.
$1 million.
something ridiculous like that for
Yeah,
sure.
that's crazy. That is so crazy. So it's 1978. New York City is a gritty, bustling metropolis where the American dream often intersects with the shadows of organized crime. And yeah, 78, New York City, terrible place to be.
Okay, so
I
I'm
mean,
like
it was it
Gotham.
was bad. It had good areas, but for the most part, any like the main city parts of it were not family friendly. Crime was pretty rampant at that
Yeah.
time.
Okay. So it's just
Uh,
like you
yeah,
could see it.
there was there was murders were like all over the place. I think at one time they were leading the nation in murders.
Whoa.
Yeah, um,
Wow.
yeah, and like in Times Square wasn't as family friendly. You couldn't get pictures with like Elmo. It was like prostitutes and bars and strip clubs, like all over the place.
That's see now that's crazy because Times Square now I would never associate strip clubs and or anything like that with Times Square. Now it's all glitz and glamour.
Yeah,
Even though
now
it
it's
has
like
its underside hustle, but still.
well, they go out there and they like have them do like little what's it called? They'll film movies out there, or they'll film like videos and everything
Mhm.
like happy. And back then, man, it was like it was a pretty rough place to be. You know?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So New York City inspired Gotham City. Got it. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Old New York City. But it's crazy when you say that. Like, I don't ever associate New York City with rampant murders.
Oh
And maybe
man.
maybe that's just me because Baltimore, I feel like is number one or number two, is up there. It's always like in the top five. Baltimore.
Well,
And then
DC used to be the murder capital.
which is crazy.
Yeah,
Like it's pretty crazy where these
that's when like crack hit real hard.
yeah,
That
DC
was yeah, when once crack hit, man, everything, all those like Baltimore, DC, New York, Jersey, all that was like
just infested,
and just
just murders.
nasty. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, it was drug dealers, gangs, mafia, all that shit.
Okay.
Um,
So is this like a privatized robbery? Like 5 million is no small feat. I feel like that's a big operation, dude.
oh, I mean, it's a mob hit,
So
you know.
mob, like, okay,
Oh, this
got
is
it.
definitely mob.
Got it.
Yeah. At the center of this story is John Gotti's crew, a part of the Lucchese crime family, one of New York's infamous five families. At this time in New York, the five families running the city were the Bonanno, Colombo, Gambino, Genovese, and the Lucchese family.
All
These
right.
families controlled many aspects of New York City, including the waterfront commerce, garbage collection, the garment industry, and construction. And I know that, like, I guess the mob was heavily into the construction because of the union. They
Okay.
get a lot of money from like the union. What's that guy's name? The guy that shot Oswald. Oh man, oh man, what's his name? I'm
Shot
not.
Oswald?
Yeah. Um, they saw they showed him and he was like Oswald, and he like shot him.
Oh man. Was it
Um,
wasn't Hoffa big in Union? You know, he was a big was it what do they call themselves? Teamsters?
yeah.
Those things? Like okay, so deep they were rolling deep. The five
Oh,
families controlled New York, pretty much. New
oh,
York
oh,
City.
yeah, definitely did. Um, Jack Ruby, that's who it was. Jack
Okay.
Ruby. Jack Ruby's the one that shot Oswald. Yeah, because he came out, and I'm pretty sure he was in the union and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So the families had their own territories and hierarchies, and reported to a governing body called the Commission. The Commission was made up of the bosses of the five families, plus the bosses of the Chicago outfit and the Buffalo crime family. Plus, each family had some control on multiple boroughs throughout the city. The Gambino primarily had control of Brooklyn and Queens. Um, Colombo, also Brooklyn and Queens. Bonanno was in Brooklyn and Queens. The Genovese, they were primarily out of Manhattan and the Bronx, and the Lucchese primarily worked out of the Bronx. And those first three were all also had like their hands in Manhattan, Staten Island, and Long Island.
So
That's
like
just to give you an idea of like the workings of how they're throughout like the whole city, throughout all the five boroughs in New York.
that's nuts. Like so so they reported to the commission, which included other families from different areas. Like
Right.
it's kind of like yeah, okay. Like I'm trying to think of what I would associate that with. It's basically a company. It's a company, and these are
Yeah.
franchises. Like
It's like
like
pyramid scheme.
yeah, it's like okay, you're McDonald's, right? You go to the top McDonald's corporation. You have McDonald's here, 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 here. They're all franchises, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like that. It's like the
But
McDonald's of crime.
right, but you notice that they're even though they're working in like the same areas, they wouldn't so much be like you can't cross this. I Now don't get me wrong. I'm not like some mob person that knows the ins and outs and the workings and everything like that. Just reading the story, I'm just getting an idea and thing that I've heard and looked up. But I believe like they weren't like so much like gangs are today, where you can't come down this street or you can't come here. You would have to get permission to like probably go into certain areas, but it wasn't so much of like drive-bys and stuff like
So
that.
okay,
Unless you did something wrong and they,
you
and they got permission to take a hit out on you
like you would
or on
have to
somebody.
ask permission to operate in a certain area in a
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
family's
I guess whoever had
territory.
more control in that area, you would probably go to them and say, "Hey, look, we're gonna work out of here. We're gonna give you a cut, blah blah blah, whatever." And I'm pretty sure that's how, more or less, how it worked. Could be
That's
wrong.
that's
Don't
crazy.
kill me in the
So
comments, for saying
well,
whatever.
I don't think any of our people in our community have any doubt that we're not organized crime.
I just want to put that out there because I don't want
Down the road, like the big guy to find
yeah,
it. It's like,
yeah. I don't want to meet some guy around the corner and be like, "Hey,
hey,
come here,
I
you.
heard you
Hey,
said,
I heard you was talking little
yeah,
trash about
yeah,
us in the family." Like, no, man, I'm
no,
sorry, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Sorry, Fat Tony. I didn't mean to like step on your toes. Hey, get your
exactly.
shine box.
Yeah, exactly. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're
No,
just
I'm sorry.
asking
So
questions.
please forgive me. Just I
uh
just like the story. I thought it was cool, and I wanted to.
yeah. No, it was pretty gutsy. Like 5 million back then, man. That's
Yeah, no, that's a
shit.
big.
That's a
That's
big
big.
heist.
Yeah.
So what family ended up getting the money, man? That's nuts.
Well, that was out of the Lucchese family,
Okay.
because they were part of Gotti's crew, but Gotti didn't. He didn't orchestrate this thing.
Oh, so he didn't commission the robbery.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but this heist wasn't Gotti's doing. It was masterminded by a man named James Burke, also known as Jimmy the Gent. Hey, Jimmy the Gent.
All
So who
right.
was Jimmy the Gent? Burke was a notorious American mobster and associate of the Lucchese crime family. Born James Burke, he earned his nickname the Gent for his habit of tipping lavishly and his charm, though his criminal activities were far from gentlemanly. Burke was a prolific career criminal involved in loan sharking, drug trafficking, and other rackets. However, he is most famously associated with masterminding the Lufthansa Heist. Burke's life and crimes were immortalized in Martin Scorsese's film Goodfellas, which came out in 1990, where he was fictionalized as Jimmy Conway and portrayed by Robert De Niro, which is, like I said, go pause this podcast, go watch it, and when you come back, you'll know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, we're all on the same level then. We're all on the same page.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys do that. If you haven't seen Goodfellas, go check it out. It is a phenomenal movie. It is really good. It's definitely one that you have to. One of those movies that like you have to watch.
Yeah, it's a must see for sure.
It's definitely a must see. Burke spent the later part of his life in prison on unrelated charges, including fixing college basketball games. He was, he was after obviously
It's crazy. It's always unrelated charges with them, isn't it? It's always unrelated. It's like, come on, something else, like tax evasion. Hey, what? That shit.
Yeah. So apparently, he would always tip well.
Okay.
And I mean, guys were making pretty good money, and I mean that like loosely, but they were making really good money. Where they go in, they tip the guy, hey, here's $100. Thanks for bringing me a cup of water.
Yeah. Got it.
Got it. It's just what they do, Yep. And that, of course, that helped them get recognized, and people knew who they were after that. And of course, they're always like, hey, get that, talk to this person or whatever, and they'll treat you right. Jimmy the Gent was an associated Lucchese family, despite not being an official made man due to his Irish heritage. Burke held a prominent position in the underworld. He had a reputation for charm, ruthlessness, and unparalleled knack for making money. Alongside him was Henry Hill, a young associate who had worked his way up in the mob's ranks. So Jimmy could never be a made man. He had Irish heritage. You have to be 100% Italian to be a made man.
Which means part of the family. Like, certain rules of engagement apply to you if you're made.
Right. So there was certain things you could do and certain things you couldn't do. But if you wanted to be a made man, you had to be 100% Italian.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have anybody in your, in your family that's, that could possibly be from somewhere else.
Got it.
They had to be from like Sicily or something like that,
Got it. So they were like the original, like 23andMe. They fact checked you. Like, hey,
yeah, pretty much. Like, you don't check out, man. That's basically
so he got pretty close for being a non-Italian then.
Yeah, I mean, he was half Italian, so I mean, he still got in. He was, he hung around them.
He was an associate. He was like,
he was. I think he was more than an associate.
Okay, he's like a trusted contractor.
It's like okay, you got like your foreman, and the foreman always has, well, not always, but usually has like that one Spanish guy that's like really, really good. He trusts him with like everything. He's like, man, you could run this crew. The guy's like running the crew and everything like that, but he'll never be the foreman or higher because he's elite.
Yeah, I gotcha. Tracking. I know the right hand guy. The right hand guy.
Yeah, so I want to say that it's something like that. And again, I'm sorry if I'm still.
No, dude. The fact that I knew exactly who you were talking about, like I can picture that person. I know that person.
Right.
I've known like 10 of those people.
Right.
So I know who you're talking.
Really good workers. They know their shit. They could get it done. No questions asked. They're running.
Just could never be part of the company. They're just part of.
Yeah,
they're just not part of the company. They're part.
They just don't have that one little piece of paper that says you're good.
Got it. Oh God.
Oh man.
Oh shit. It's all right. We can say that kind of stuff. We can say that kind of stuff, bro.
I mean, yeah. So anyway, though, this heist was hatched thanks to a tip from a cargo worker named Lewis Warner. Warner was neck deep in gambling debts, including debts he owed to bookmakers connected to organized crime, and was desperate for a way out. And that's probably a lot of the way people got whacked.
Yeah.
They gambling,
I mean,
gambling. If you're
what?
not going to pay that back, they probably like, look, we'll wipe it clean, or they'll probably like do something like get like, all right, we'll do this favor for you, and you just get
Yeah, like
way over your head, and
yeah,
next thing you know, it's like
you
you're
don't
never
wanna
gonna pay this.
you don't wanna ever owe them a favor, ever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that is not good. That is not worth what you borrowed,
no,
ever.
no. But I mean, it's kind of like I guess you could say it's kind of like if you had like when you go to college, and then you got debt, you got all that debt, and you're never gonna pay it back,
Yeah,
and you just live with that debt forever. It's
yeah.
kind of like that, except they don't come and like break your ankles,
Yeah, true. Got
you
it.
know,
Got it.
or like
Yep,
or take you for a ride and throw you in the river.
exactly. Exactly.
Thank
You wake
God.
up with a horse's head in your bed.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So to settle these debts, he revealed to Burke and his crew that large sums of cash from international flights were routinely stored in the vault at the Lufthansa cargo building at JFK Airport. Warner provided valuable insider knowledge about the layout of the cargo terminal, the security procedures, and the timing of cash shipments. This information allowed the heist team to precisely plan the robbery. The money came in from U.S. military servicemen stationed abroad and sent cash back to their families in America. This cash, along with other high value items, made JFK's Lufthansa vault a prime target. I
Wow.
mean, that thing was just like
It's prime
once
picking.
they knew they were able to get in and figure it out, they were like, we gotta take this. We gotta take this.
But that's a pretty big in, dude. Like, I mean, that's a pretty big in. Like, hey, this is a pipe dream unless you know someone on the inside. And he's like, hey, I'm the guy on the inside.
Right.
I'll hook you guys up if you clear me. Like, for the first time ever, he's like presenting the favor to them. Like, look, here it is. Here's this access, but we're good, right?
It
Like,
literally is an offer they can't refuse.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that I know it's a Godfather reference, but really, it's like, I mean, when he tells him, like, I mean, I don't know exactly what he said to him, but I can only imagine that he said like, "Hey, there's at least $1 million in there or more."
yeah,
They had to have lost their minds. Like, we wait, what?
yeah.
How do
No,
we get in? How are we
that's
going to do
that's
this?
my
So
thing. It's like some rando comes up that has a gambling problem. Comes to you like, hey man, we could do this. Like, get out of here. But like for them to actually take it seriously, they must like their ears must have pricked up after like, hey, we're talking about a couple million. Like, oh, let's talk. Let's talk about this.
yeah,
Like,
oh
let's
yeah,
entertain it.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, that was something they really wanted to entertain.
Yeah.
So Warren was introduced to Jimmy Burke through intermediaries connected to the Lucchese family. These intermediaries included Paulo Lacastria, an associate of Burke, and possibly Martin Krugerman, a bookmaker who also played a role in organizing the robbery. And forgive me again for butchering names. I'm not very, these are Italian names. Sorry. It's not like Smith or Johnson.
Yep.
Burke's first move, assemble a crew. And his crew consisted of obviously himself, who was the mastermind, got everyone together, figured out what was going to who's going to do what. Henry Hill, he's Burke's right hand man and responsible for logistics. Okay, so he was telling them, I guess
Okay.
what they should do, whatever. Did logistics. Tommy DeSimone, violent enforcer with a hair trigger temper, more or less. I don't want to say the muscle on the operation, but I mean he was there to make sure, I guess, help things run smooth. Warner, the inside who provided the information, Angelo Sepe, who was the muscle for the operation, I guess, get everybody together, keep everybody in line while other shit's going down. Joe Manieri and Robert McMahon, workers at JFK Airport who helped with access and coordination. Every detail was planned meticulously. They studied the security routines, identified weak points, and timed the robbery to perfection. And Burke's golden rule: no mistakes and absolutely no loose ends.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that's almost like a given with
Well, with
mob.
what's at stake and with who's pulling the heist, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that goes without saying. Like, you're doing a job, don't do it sloppy, because these guys don't tolerate sloppy. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone knew what they were signing up for when they were pulled into
Yeah.
the crew. But that's
Yeah.
crazy how many people um were told about this. You know, that's a lot. That's a lot of
Well, you know, it's like you get your guy, he's Burke's the mastermind, he's gonna get his guys into he has the guys that he trusts more, you know, who he's
yeah.
probably done other jobs with, you know, hangs out with more, you know, so he probably had those people
And
pick guys that were good at doing certain things, and he was like, "Look, this is what we're going to do." Obviously, the family's going to get some of it,
yeah,
probably more or less more of it, but all you know, the rest of us are going to get
we're taken
a
care
good
of.
amount,
Yeah.
a good amount. So, in the pre-dawn hours of December 11th, 1978, a bitter winter chill enveloped New York City. At JFK International Airport, cargo operations had quieted down, leaving the Lufthansa cargo building relatively desolate. Inside, only a skeleton crew of employees remained, handling late night paperwork and routine tasks. Unbeknownst to them, a meticulously planned crime was about to unfold, one that would become one of the largest cash thefts in American history. Burke had masterminded the heist for weeks. He and his crew had studied the security protocols, shift patterns of employees, and the layout of the cargo terminal. The key insider, who was Warner, a Lufthansa cargo supervisor, had fed the crew critical details, and including the location of the cash vault, schedules of all the guards. This was no impulsive robbery. It was carefully orchestrated operation. Under the cover of darkness, the crew made their move, wearing ski masks and armed with pistols. They broke into the Lufthansa cargo building around 3 a.m. when a when a stolen black Ford Econoline van rolled quietly into the parking lot of the Lufthansa cargo terminal. Once inside, the crew systematically secured the building. They overpowered the night staff, about 10 in all, and tied them up in the break room and threatened them with guns, warning them to keep quiet, including like one of the main guards. They forced him at gunpoint to disable the alarms and unlock the vault. The crew was cold and efficient, showing no mercy but avoiding any unnecessary violence, which is
Huh.
a pretty big deal, you know,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
like, hey, control yourself. We don't want to draw any
Well,
attention to us than we have to.
well, you know, I feel like that's what happens when you create your crew. It's like you don't want loose cannons. Like, you need things to run smooth. So I feel like, you know, you're picking the best of the best to formulate this crew. You
Right.
know, and you don't get a hothead Jimmy Firepants from down the road. You know,
Right.
you don't do
Yeah.
that. You don't
Yeah. Volcano Tony.
Volcano Tony. You don't get him. You don't
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
him
I would
to
put you
do
on
that.
my team. What the fuck?
Yeah, just yeah, you don't get him. Like, I get it.
Right.
Okay, okay, but that's you know, that's kind of, I guess, what you would want. Like, when you're do, especially when you're playing for these kind of stakes. When you're going for these kind of stakes, like, it has to be perfect. It's like perfection or nothing.
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah.
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 Oh,
Definitely. I mean, because any slip ups, everybody's gonna get
well, and
jammed up.
if you think about it,
They're going to the clank.
if you think about it, if it's like, if it's technically it could be considered non-violent, even though they were armed, right?
Mhm.
Right. But you don't want the heat that would rain down on the usual suspects, because you
Because they
are
are good fellas,
they're good fellas. So you
and
don't want the
they
heat.
could have. This could have actually come because they worked out of the Bronx. Is technically a Bronx tale.
Yes. You know what I mean? All the puns. Um all the puns. But you know, it's just like you don't want to do that, because it's like you're shooting the whole like, not just the individual family. You're bringing
Mm,
heat on the whole. thing.
Oh yeah.
The organized crime family with the 5 families. You're bringing the devil at the door, the devil being the FBI, probably.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I
Hell yeah.
mean? Like
Mhm.
you don't want anything sloppy. So because guess what? Maybe your family, the crime family you're part of, might forgive you with enough payback, with enough money, but definitely not the heat you're bringing on the other 4 families. They're probably not going to be as forgiving. So it has to be perfect, and
Yep.
fingers can't point to the mob.
Well, yeah, but I think at this time, I think a lot of these heists like that,
Yeah, it wasn't it
it
wasn't
was
the
kind of like, yeah, we have like smaller gangs and they probably
yeah
do stuff, and they're like just a bunch of stick up kids that go around, hey, give me your wallet, stuff like that. They looked at this and they're like, yeah, there's unless this was like some kind of
yeah
random
yeah
rogue group that
people
was like,
yeah it
they were
wasn't
like, this is a fucking mob.
yeah they were like, oh, it's the Chechens, like what, like no, no, definitely not them, like got it
It was the Russians.
it was the Russians, fucking what was it, the guys from Back to the Future, it's those guys,
Mm,
the Libyans or whatever they
yeah, the
were,
Libyans.
the Libyans, definitely wasn't them at this time, got it.
No, no, it wasn't. So inside the vault, the gang's eyes widened as they saw stacks of cash and jewelry waiting for them for the taking. It only took them about an hour to load the money and valuables into their getaway van.
That's
In
crazy.
total, the haul amounted to about $5 million in cash and roughly close to $900,000 in jewelry. They left behind no fingerprints and left no witnesses alive who could identify them directly. I mean, everyone was pretty much alive. I don't think there was nobody was killed at that time,
Mhm.
but they weren't sure like who exactly it was, so they couldn't at the time pinpoint which family it
Got
might
it.
be related to or anything like that. Um, so yeah, once the crew loaded up all the cash valuables in the van, they double checked the premises to ensure nothing had been left behind. Around 4:16, the heist was complete. Who
Wow.
piled into the van, drove away from the airport. No trace behind. They didn't leave anything behind or anything like that. Obviously, the route had been pre-planned to avoid any major roadways, potential run-ins with the cops. Um, After several miles, they quickly abandoned the van.
Wow.
And get rid of it. At obviously a premeditated location.
That's
Right?
crazy. In and out. I mean, if you think about that, just listen, you're not just sitting on your hands when you're robbing a vault. You're hustling. And so for them to take a full hour to move cash, that's a lot of cash.
Well,
You're
it's
probably
five
talking
million.
about like a pallet, 2 pallets,
Yeah.
just back and forth like assembly line style. Just like I can't conceive like how
Just
much money that is. That's crazy.
dude, just imagine the rush. You know what I mean? Like the
Dude,
rush of you're pulling into this and you're like, there's all this money. It's as much as we can grab. We're gonna grab it all as much as we can, if not all of it.
yeah, and don't leave
And then you get
nothing.
out there,
Don't be stupid. Don't
right?
forget something. Like that's
Yeah.
oh man.
Don't be like my wallet.
Yeah, yeah. Damn it. Where's that thing with our plans on it?
Wait, who left the keys?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
ah.
god.
Yeah, because then that's when Volcano
Then you
Tony is
get,
gonna shoot you in the
yeah,
face.
yeah. That's when you get accidentally locked out of the van. Oh god.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so they had a premeditated location. And what they wiped down the van as thoroughly as possible, right? Um, so they sped away. Everything had gone off without a hitch. But the hard part, that was yet to come.
Huh.
After securing the cash and jewelry, the crew loaded the loot into their van and left the airport. Um, Parnell Stacks Edwards drove the van to a prearranged location in Brooklyn where they transferred the haul to another vehicle to minimize their chance of being traced. To cover their tracks, robbers cleaned the van, as I said, of any evidence before abandoning it. The heist was executed with such precision that authorities were not alerted until hours later, um, giving the criminals a substantial head start. Like I said, they were just
Wow.
out of there. They they had enough time to figure this out.
Wow. That's talk about execution. Like that's that usually a plan does not go off like this. Not a plan of this magnitude.
Usually.
With this many players in, and that's a big hat off to just planning and the people part of this heist.
Well,
That's
it, it
crazy.
it goes to show that Burke was really like
P's and
meticulous.
Q's. Like,
He
yeah.
was like, okay, tell me everything. I want to know how this works. Who's going to be there? How many are there at this time? What's the best time to get in there? Try to figure out, excuse me, how much about how long it'll take, how many guys am I going to need to move this amount of money, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I'm sure it wasn't like in the movies where they set up a whole room and they had
Yeah.
pretend $5 million and they were trying to move it out. I'm sure it was just more or less like just guessing more, for the
Yeah.
most part. But Stacks was in charge of getting rid of the van. Uh, Stacks was an associate to Lucchese crime family. Stacks was at one time trying to become a blues musician, and that's how he met Tommy DeSimone while playing guitar at a mafia frequented bar. Stacks and DeSimone were also involved in other crimes together before the heist. Now, Stacks was a black guy, so he's never going to be.
Yeah, got it.
They'll never let him into the
There was
mob.
no ancestry check on him. They're like, it's
No,
a given.
they looked at him and they said, "You're not Italian."
Yeah, got it. And he's like, fair point.
Yeah,
Got it.
he was like, I see your point.
Yeah, like, that tracks.
He's like, good call. but they trusted him enough to do a job. I mean, he was the getaway driver.
Yeah, well, like my dude, they trusted him too.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you, like, yeah, the mob worked well with other people. If you were if you were just top of the game, like, I feel like they respected the hustle. Like, if you were good at what you did, why wouldn't they use you? Kind of thing.
Right. A few days later, the crew gathered at Robert's Lounge, Jimmy's favorite hangout in Queens, to celebrate their success and to remind everyone of the importance of keeping their heads down. Spirits were high, drinks flowed freely. The men joked about their newfound riches, fantasizing about what they'd do with their share of the money. And I mean, who wouldn't be talking like, oh man, I just came, 1978, 1980, whatever.
Yeah.
You just got $500,000.
Yeah. That's
at that time, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. That's
and you're like, I'm going to go buy a house. I'm going to do this, whatever, some talked about buying mansions. Others dreamed of fancy cars and trips to exotic destinations. But Jimmy was already assessing the risk in the room. He watched as the men bragged, laughed too loudly, which apparently, from the sound of it, he despised that shit. He was just and drew attention to themselves. Paranoia crept in. Jimmy knew that loose lips could sink the entire operation, and the FBI would be all over them and if anyone got sloppy. But of course, as always, greed and egos got in the way.
Always. It just annoys me that, like, this plan, like, the hardest part of this whole thing is the plan, like, doing it. A lot of people don't even get away from the crime scene. And they're talking about, like, they went away, they divvied it all up. Now they're meeting back at the hangout. Like, what? That right there is better than 90% of these types of heists, right? That's already cheating the numbers.
Oh yeah, man.
And then on top of it, your crew that you hand selected. See, like, that's my thing. It's like, he hand selected these people. These guys were all picked, and now they're devolving into frat boys that are just.
Well, I mean, even though they were making good money, I'm pretty sure most, if not all of these guys, never had this much money all at once.
No, probably not. Probably not.
And they would, of course, they'd spend a lot of their money on, going out. They'd eat out all the time, women, because a lot of them had wives, but had, side pieces, clothes. They always dressed, had expensive jewelry, expensive, suits and all that stuff, shoes, expensive shoes, fancy cars. So they, more money, your status is going up. You got to show everybody your status. So they were going to have like some schmuck, in a Ford
my thing
Focus
is
or something.
yeah, like what is it? One of those gremlins, like the 2-door things where you can touch. Yeah, no, but you know what though? I wonder, because I don't know how in depth this story, like what you researched went, but I wonder how quickly they disseminated the money to the families, to the people, like that way they're not wanted. If shit hits the fan, like, did they pay off their dues first? Is that like the first thing off the top? Like, okay, look, before we get any kind of heat or any kind of suspicion on us, let's pay our tithe to the crime families. So that way we can all be free and clear. That way our loose lips sink our ship, not everyone's ship. Because we will go missing if that starts happening.
Well, let's find out.
You're right. All right, man.
One way to find out. Let's I don't know. Let's finish the story. Let's see.
All right, let's go.
Mentioned it. Did I? I don't know.
Who knows?
I can't remember. The morning after the heist, chaos erupted at JFK Airport. When Lufthansa staff discovered the missing cash, the FBI was immediately called in. Agents began combing through every inch of the crime scene. They suspected it was an inside job, but had little to go on initially. The crew had left no physical evidence.
Mother of God.
However, they hadn't accounted for human error. Warner, the insider, was already on the FBI's radar due to his gambling debts. And while he didn't crack right away, his involvement would prove to be a ticking time bomb.
Oh my God.
It seems like it's always somebody.
I mean, it's just too massive of an operation, right?
Yeah. So sorry, my chair keeps rolling on me. So Jimmy Burke knew that loose lips could sink ships. He began to suspect that some members of the crew might get sloppy or talk too much. So, one by one, Burke began eliminating anyone he deemed a liability. First on his list was, of course, if you haven't guessed it already, Stax Edwards. Stax was a musician, part-time thief, and had a penchant for drugs. Jimmy Burke trusted Edwards to dispose of the Ford Econoline van used during the heist, which was a crucial piece of evidence, obviously, because that's where everybody was sitting in. That's where they loaded the money into. That's where they escaped. That's the vehicle they escaped in. That was a big piece. Because if they don't have that, they probably have less. They would have less to go on.
Yeah.
So Edwards was supposed to drive it to a junkyard in New Jersey, where it would be destroyed. But instead, Edwards spent the night getting high and partying, and he parked the van near his girlfriend's apartment in Brooklyn, leaving it for the police to find. The abandoned van contained his fingerprints, which provided a direct link to the crew. This blunder sealed his fate. Jimmy, the gent, was such a gentleman, he kept his word. Burke didn't hesitate. Days later, on December 18th, 1978, Burke sent Tommy DeSimone, who was his buddy, was Stack's buddy. They were friends. Remember, they did crime. They did a bunch of crimes together, right? To handle the problem. DeSimone found Edwards in his apartment in South Ozone Park, Queens. Accounts vary, but it is said DeSimone shot Edwards in the head at point-blank range while Edwards begged for his life. To ensure the message was clear, DeSimone fired additional rounds into Edwards' body before leaving him slumped on the floor. Stack's bloody body was found days later, and Burke's message was clear. Mistakes would not be tolerated.
You're gonna be late for your own fucking funeral. The fuck you looking at? Come on, make that coffee to go. Let's go. The fuck you doing? It's a joke. Put the fucking pot down. You gotta take the coffee.
Jeez.
How many times does he have to tell you guys?
Well, I mean, dude, I feel like when a mobster, or not even full mobster, mobster adjacent, tells you, "Hey guys, he told you nicely. That's the most you're gonna get. One time. He should say it one time.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. That's all you get. Don't F up.
Right. But this was, of course, only the beginning. Next on his list, Joe Manieri and Robert McMahon. Manieri and McMahon were heavily involved in the logistics of the heist. They had been trusted to help plan and execute the robbery, but some became liabilities in Burke's paranoid mind. Burke feared they might talk if pressed by law enforcement. On January 14th, 1979, their bodies were discovered in a parked car near a service road in Brooklyn. Both had been shot multiple times, execution style. The police described the scene as methodical. The shooter had ensured neither man had a chance to escape or retaliate. The killers likely used a silenced weapon, as no one reported hearing gunshots in the vicinity. But then again,
no one would have. No one would have.
I mean, no one's gonna. They're not gonna say, "Yeah, I heard a bunch of gunshots. It was probably such and such."
No.
I'm sure there was places or areas where the people knew mob were at or were hang out, and things happen, and
no one. You didn't see nothing.
Like you didn't. You didn't see anything. You didn't hear anything. Leave it at that. Okay, cool. Then Paolo Licastri, a Sicily mobster with the connections with the Gambino crime family, was brought in to help launder the stolen cash. However, Licastri demanded a larger share of the proceeds. That right there should already tell you. And this was breaking the unspoken code of loyalty. This insubordination obviously made him a target.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand why though. I mean, hear me out though. You have less hands now. You have less hands in the pot. The pot's kind of increased. It's kind of like, hey, this unspoken thing should at least be talked about. Like, well, if this guy and this guy and this guy are gone,
maybe mention it, but I wouldn't go to be so bold as to be like, "Where's my cut? I need bigger money. He's not here anymore. We need,
yeah."
Give me another
I would hint at it. I would hint at it for sure. I'd politely be like, "Hey, man, since 1, 2, 3. Actually, there's less of us, and what's the deal? What's going on? No, but for sure, if you're asking for more money, that's not a good thing. Not a good thing. Your leverage doesn't count for shit.
So Castri's body was found on June 13th, 1979, in a burning dumpster behind a restaurant in Brooklyn. Yeah.
But it had nothing to do with me.
Yes, they set him on fire. They really didn't want him to say anything else.
No, that man got the worst.
He was definitely in the hot seat. He had been shot multiple times in the head and chest before his corpse was set on fire. Investigators believe the fire was intended to destroy evidence, but the body was identified through dental records. His death served as a warning to others who might challenge Burke's authority. Burke is
he's not playing around
at a certain level, and it's like, if you're not there or above, just don't say anything.
I wonder, man. Like, it's tough because now he's kind of taken on the mantle of boss. Like, he's kind of, if he's calling shots and deleting people, that's kind of in the realm of crime boss. Like, you're talking a boss level.
Yeah.
And now he has the financials to back it up.
Yeah.
So
he definitely does. Yeah. Yeah. And he definitely can pay people to do his dirty work too. So Angelo Sepe was one of Burke's trusted associates and a key participant in the heist. Sepe's mistake was drawing too much attention to himself by spending extravagantly after the robbery. He bought flashy cars, jewelry, a lavish home, moves that made Burke increasingly uneasy. In 1984, Sepe and his girlfriend were found dead in their Queens apartment. Both had been shot multiple times in what appeared to be a professional hit. Sebi's execution was seen as a delayed cleanup. As Burke continued eliminating those tied to the heist.
Fuck out.
Then you got your girlfriend killed.
Yeah, but I mean, get the fuck out. Like, I don't know. For me, it's kind of like if I'm getting into bed with these people like that do this, right?
Mhm.
And let's say I was personally chosen, it would have to be a cut where I could get out and leave. Like that for me would be it. It's like this money has to buy my freedom. Like I'm out. I'm starting somewhere else, different country, somewhere where they don't speak Italian or eat pizza, and I'm going somewhere else.
Spaghetti,
Yeah, like I'm going to Nepal. All right, like I'm going somewhere different, and I'm starting over because that's it's like bound to happen. This cleanup is like you said in the beginning, it's like a movie.
Yeah,
like methodically cleaning up loose ends. Honestly, it's a dick move, but hey, at least the guy bought some stuff, right? He lived a good little bit of time. He had a good last hurrah with his girlfriend, I guess. I hope.
I mean, yeah, they had some time. And then next on his list was Marty Krugerman, a wig shop owner and small-time bookmaker, who was the one who initially tipped off Jimmy Burke about the vulnerability of the Lufthansa vault. Krugman expected a finder's fee for his information, a cut of the loot he believed was rightfully his. Burke, however, had no intention of paying him. Krugman's insist demands for his share irritated Burke, who say he was a liability. So in 1979, Krugman vanished. Witnesses last saw him being led into a mob-controlled lounge, though his body was never recovered. Sources claim Tommy DeSimone killed him on Burke's orders, likely strangling him or shooting him before disposing of the body.
We'll go to dine over there on the boulevard. Oh, good. Which dine? Rockwood Boulevard. It's open 24 hours. So. They got Danish there? Yeah, they got everything. Oh, good. Yeah, let's pick up some Danish for Bell. Take a couple more. Oh, do you hear about the points we were shaving up in Boston? No, I didn't. Oh, it's terrific. Yeah, Nunzio up in
Oh, you never shut the fuck up.
Oh, pain in the ass.
What do you want to do?
Get rid of them. Chop them up and get rid of the cop. Call me when you get through.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can if you watch again, if you watch Goodfellas, they portray that incident. Yeah.
Oh man.
Spoiler. Sorry, guys.
I just feel like, dude, it's so systematic. If I were to say anything, I would have gotten the guys I would have killed to kill the other guys.
Yeah, well, somebody would have to take out Burke if they wanted to survive.
Yeah, but
that would never happen because they would have to actually, I think, because of his status, I believe they would have to get permission to take him out.
But where's he on getting all the permission to delete all these other guys? You know what I mean? Like that sucks.
Because I think it's because they're at a certain level, you have to ask permission to get rid of somebody. I think if it's somebody in your crew, and they're under you, you can get rid of them whenever you want.
Well, what my thing is, was he getting rid of made men? Like
no.
See, so that's the thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if they're under you, even if again once you're a made man, I believe you have to get permission to do anything.
So he's knocking off not made men. He's knocking
off. These are just guys. I mean, if you have a guy that's just like your muscle and you just want to get rid of him, you just get rid of him.
Yeah.
Hey, what happened to Tommy two times? And it's like I don't know. He
slipped and fell on a couple bullets.
Yeah. He slipped on some ice and fell on bullets, and he ain't coming back.
He's not. Yeah. Terrible. But all right, okay. So he's getting rid of the not made guys, because if he were to get rid of the made guys, then I feel like that would create ripples within the
No,
family.
if he got rid of made guys, they would definitely go after him, and he would have gotten rid of.
Yep.
And as you can tell, Burke doesn't seem like he's holding it together either, because he's definitely like,
he's losing
this guy's giving me weird vibes. We got to get rid of him. You know. So though their roles were minor, Rodriguez and McMahon were deemed unnecessary risk after the heist. Burke's paranoia ensured even those on the fringes weren't spared. Both were killed in separate incidents, and their deaths attributed to Burke's fear of anyone implicating him. So he's like really, he's like losing it.
Damn. So man. So okay, it takes about stealing $5 million to lose everything.
Yeah.
To lose your mind.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. He just seemed like he was so paranoid.
Yeah.
That someone's gonna talk, someone's gonna say something, and I mean, in a way, I guess he kind of had the right idea, because I'm sure everybody would have said something.
They would have tipped someone off, but it's almost like, okay, when this many bodies start popping up, you can start, that right there is enough for me. I'm like, this guy's gone, this guy's gone, this guy's gone, this guy's gone. Like, what the hell is going on right here?
I'd be like, I ain't saying anything.
Like, holy shit. Like, especially, let's say if you're law enforcement, you're like, we're chasing down ghosts, and all of a sudden randoms start popping up.
They probably thought more or less like, hey, this person probably had something to do with it, and somebody is getting rid of them for a reason.
And then they're like,
isn't the first time that like bodies were showing up either,
No, true. I mean, because bodies were showing up, right?
Yeah, all this time there was bodies showing up, mob bosses, or people that were related to the mob, witnesses, all kinds of people were, and they knew that it was like, it's mob, but they couldn't pinpoint who was doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They knew it was like, it's a mob hit, like some mob, one of these families is killing somebody, we just don't know who
or why.
Right. They don't know why, and plus a lot of cops were probably getting paid off by them too.
True.
So it was, they probably like, well, we're not going to really pay attention to it, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Tommy DeSimone, who had carried out several of these hits, believed his loyalty would earn him a promotion to be a made man for the Lucchese family, but instead he was lured to a meeting under false pretenses and was killed. His body was never found, and it's widely believed that Lucchese higher-ups ordered his execution in retaliation for unrelated killings.
30 years, huh?
Yeah.
Brings back a lot of memories.
And how?
Mike's Peak was a fucking pimple then, wasn't it? Oh, no.
So DeSimone was a hothead. In the movie Goodfellas, he's played by Danny
Pesci.
What's his name? I almost said Danny DeVito.
No. Isn't it Joe Pesci?
It's not Danny DeVito. It was Joe Pesci. Yeah, two different guys.
Yeah.
Definitely not him.
No.
It would have been funny though if that was him.
Danny DeVito. Couldn't imagine. That would have just ruined the whole fucking thing.
Tommy was played by Joe Pesci in the movie, and in the movie, they explained that they whacked him because he went and killed somebody who was, I think he said, was a made man, and he didn't get permission, but he did it anyway without even asking, and they were like, well, we had to. That's just the rules, man.
That's the rules. Yep. That's crazy. So he was already on that was just a fortunate turn of events for everyone.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, he's gone. So
right. Because that was Jimmy's boy, and he wasn't gonna get him killed, but the higher ups were like, we can't have this guy. Killed. Yeah, I mean, he pretty much did, and he was he was brutal. He was going around killing everybody, and fighting people and stuff. And yeah. So each killing was carried out with brutal efficiency, a testament to Jimmy Burke's paranoia and determination to maintain control. His strategy was clear: silence anyone who could tie him to the heist. By the time the bloodshed ended, nearly a dozen people connected to the
Jesus.
heist were dead or missing. And if you're missing, you're dead. You're
Yeah,
not.
you're dead.
Yeah.
If you go missing in a mob hotspot, you're dead. Like that's it's just part
Yeah,
of
they say missing because they never found the bodies,
you're
but
dead.
it's not like they went to Spain or something like that.
No, they're
You
gone.
know? No, they're definitely gone. But despite the FBI's best efforts, they struggled to build a solid case against Burke and his crew. Most of the primary suspects were either dead or refused to talk. So, like, the main people that they were trying to get, or people they were trying to get a hold of, you know, again, dead, or they just like, I'm not saying anything because I'm going to end up dead. Which
Yeah.
they probably still ended up dead too because the FBI was looking at them saying, "Hey, you know, this is, you know."
Dude, yeah, like if I was part of that crew, the FBI showed up at my house, I'd be like, get the fuck out, get out. I don't want anyone talking that you guys showed up near my house, because then if this dude gets tipped off, whether I said something to you or not, this hothead's gonna come after me.
Yeah. But Henry Hill's arrest in 1980 on drug charges turned the tide. Facing a lengthy prison sentence, Hill flipped and became an informant. His testimony helped unravel the inner workings of the Lucchese family and shed light on the Lufthansa heist. Burke was eventually convicted, not for the heist itself, but for unrelated charges. He died in prison in 1996. The stolen cash and jewelry, almost none of it was ever recovered. To this day, the Lufthansa heist remains one of the most legendary crimes in American history. They never
Yo,
found the money.
well, the money's gone.
They
Money's
have it. No,
gone.
no, it's definitely gone. It's different. It's, and there you have it, everybody. A story of ambition, betrayal, and cold-blooded crime.
God,
The
nothing's
Lufthansa heist was just a
ever.
robbery. Wasn't just a robbery. It was a spectacle, a moment that cemented the mob's place in American pop culture. And what do you think happened to all that money?
Gone.
Did it go to the higher ups? Did it get buried? Did it go somewhere else? Let us know your theories. What you guys thought.
I think went into building the World Trade Center. Like they built bought the scaffolding for the high rises that they built. Like
Yeah.
bought off lots. Like I dude, oh man, that I feel like that for me, like, okay, you're doing this big contract, right? You're getting this big score. You got to
Yeah.
make sure the bosses are in the loop, because for me, like, you're about to bring hell down. You're about to bring a massive magnifying glass on the inner workings of the family. So for me, I'm like, that's something where, okay, look, you guys got my back. I'm going to go ahead and reach for this. If I fail, it's on me. But if I win, you guys are getting the cut.
Yeah.
But if you guys get a cut, like, I have to be able to run this and delete some people to not just protect myself, the score, but also to protect the family.
Yeah. No, and I'm pretty sure they knew, like, hey,
yeah, he's got to do what he's got to do.
Not everyone is going to make it out, and even though I want to say that some of the stuff was messed up, the Lucchese family had to have known, like, whoever the boss was or one of the bosses there had to have known, like, hey, Jimmy's probably going to lose it, and a lot of these guys are going to get whacked. But as long as I get my cut of the money, I don't care what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, if you're a top family boss, the head of the family, you gotta, like, that's upper management level moves right there. Like, that's like, okay, he's gonna go crazy. He's gonna slowly decline into like paranoia, and that we're gonna lose a lot of people, but we're not gonna lose made people. Like,
no, well, they're not gonna lose, like, the main people, because they can always get another, lookout.
yeah, if they're not going to lose their own people. Like, that's a huge thing to note, is like, he didn't go around killing members of the family. he killed, he deleted people in the wings. Like honestly, if you were a made person, it would have been safer. And probably that's the reason why he didn't pick a lot of family members to do that heist with.
Well, there was quite a few of people, family members in his. There were some outside, like Stacks,
Yeah,
he was
the
disposable
outsiders
right off the jump.
got gone quick.
Yeah.
The outsiders,
Well,
I feel like that was like no one's losing any sleep for
yeah,
that hit. But
yeah.
but he didn't delete any of the made family members.
No, well, yeah, that was a big no. That would never happen.
Yeah, so those guys were safe. That's when being part of the union, aka the family, helped you.
That's when it helped to be a made man.
Yeah, we're like, hey, this guy's going crazy, but yeah, he's not going. He can't go crazy on me, Like that's nuts. That's nuts. And yeah, I don't know. Loose ends. That's all of them. That's all the loose ends. Pretty much, he wrapped up all of them.
But again, his paranoia really like made loose ends. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he was thinking about it, he's like, this guy's gonna talk, this guy's doing something. I gotta get rid of him. And he seemed to like spiral out of control. I'm not gonna say out of control, but it seemed like he just kind of lost it.
Yeah, like whoever looks at me, he's probably gonna talk. I'm gonna kill him. Like Jesus Christ, chill. But I feel like $5 million then could have bought that whole crew. Could have become another family somewhere else. Like
I think that right there would have had to been. They actually would have to ask permission to do something like that. It's not that they could just. It's not like gangs where they can just go and make another gang. Like they'd have to get permission.
Yeah,
and that would probably be a big no. And then they probably all get whacked.
Well, my thing is like that was enough money though. That's enough money to disappear. Like completely disappear.
Yeah.
Like out of the family, that's out of the game, that's out of the hustle. Like $5 million for whoever's involved is enough to get completely out, to step out of the circle. Like that's enough money. Then holy crap, like almost $30 million. Granted, I don't know how they well, and never mind, it's mafia. They could, the mob, they could fence that jewelry easy.
Hey, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Pretty much during that time, they were untouchable. But but yeah, man, no, that's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy, guys. It's a movie, like for real. But it's nuts.
Go watch the movie, come back, like, okay, we got it for the most part, we got it down. Like what happened?
It's never something simple. It's always complicated. And that's why I feel like anything to do with the mob is just so massive. It's not simple. It's not like, okay, these guys just robbed a bank and left. No, it's never that. It's like so much more, so many different layers, so many players that are part of each of these mob type stories, and it's nuts. It's just like, holy crap, it's never clear cut at all. Nope. So I mean, that's a crazy story, man. So 12 people deleted. 12
at
people,
least, probably more than that.
Oh, for sure more. For sure more.
The people that were in the crew, people that might have known anybody that any whatever. That's one crime that you just like, I don't want to know anything about.
No, especially if you know who's running it. You're like, nope, not going to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be part of that. Like, I don't care what the score is, bro. That dude's nuts. That dude's nuts.
Hey, Daniel, thanks for hanging out and taking time out to, go through this story. Thank you all for joining us on this exciting adventure out at the Ad Files. Exactly. Again, if you guys are enjoying this, please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, give the bell for notifications every time we drop a new episode and all that good stuff. And let us know what your theories are, what might have happened to the money and all that stuff. You know?
I feel like, they just reinvested.
Yeah.
They bought some racehorses.
Probably. Guys. So let us know. And until next time, thanks again. Daniel, thank you. And until next time, peace.
Later.
In a world of shadows. and hidden truths. We search for answers, we chase the clues.